Welcome to the vlog, everybody. That was a terrible intro, sorry. Welcome to the vlog. Hope you enjoyed yesterday's bike fitting one. Can I just quickly say to Tom and the guys at Embassy that the place that you have established is fantastic. However, to film anything, it is awful. The lighting is dreadful. The sound is abysmal. You need to work on that. Look, I think most of what we were saying came across. I hope the audio wasn't too bad, guys. It really challenged my audio setup, I'll tell you that much. Yeah, look, one of the things that we were saying that I couldn't get across was the contact points. And this I thought was quite interesting, especially when it comes to a lot of these integrated contact points. So I'm on the FSA Vision stuff now, which I'll do a full review of coming up. But it's interesting. So these are 40 110s. What I was running before, the black ink ones, 40 110s. But they measure very differently. Fun fact, these run longer and lower. However, they taper in. So they're actually narrower in parts and wider in other parts, which I kind of thought was really interesting, especially given, you know, a lot of us are doing the integrated stuff now, and a lot of us are buying the integrated stuff like with the bike. So you don't really have much room to move once you go down that selection. So it's certainly something to think about, an additional thing to think about. It's not as if you can just whack a different stem on or something like that. The other thing from yesterday, I was really surprised by that bit at the end where he was saying that he raises most people's saddle. I genuinely would have thought most people would lean towards having their saddle too high. Just because, you know, there's that sort of thing of, you get on a bike, you feel like, oh, my knee's sore, I'll come up, I'll come up, I'll come up. That's kind of always the thing that most people do. So on that, I'm kind of interested, like when you have gone to a bike fit, what's been the result of yours? I think a great example of the mental part of the bike fit thing that I was talking about is I got sort of like 30 minutes into that. I'm like, oh man, that left knee's a little gibberish. And I would have probably backed off, like if I hadn't just done the fit. But now I'm like, you know, Tom's told me that I'm in the right position. More than happy to sort of push through it, you know? So it just kind of, you know how those little gremlins creep into your head when you're kind of hurting? It's nice to have like some sort of reassurance. Well, even if it's pretend reassurance, you know? Actually, while I've got you, I got a question for people who were like training in the 90s and stuff. And when like heart rate was coming in and like guys were using heart rate as a training tool, how did you do it? Like my heart rate there was threshold, but my power was like sub-threshold, and it's hot today. It's like the hottest day of the year so far. Well, this summer, I suppose. So 28, 29 degrees. And yeah, so like how did you do it? Did you just know that would happen? So you just equated for it all the time? Or, yeah, be interested to know. 90s, kids of the 90s, cyclists of the 90s, you and your fluoro outfits and your alloy bikes and your... Actually, I know what you were doing. You were on it, weren't you? You didn't use heart rate. You just used the good stuff. Didn't muck about. Didn't muck about in the 90s. None of these little supplements, you just went for it. Rapha. It's a throwback jersey. I like that one.
Hey, how you doing?
Nice. Rapha. Shout Team Rapha. It's hot. But I tell you what, guys, I got a bit of a Ben Simmons update in there for you. Now, before you go, oh God, here we go again. This is getting interesting now, okay? So he wasn't coming to training. He wasn't coming to where the team were. So the team started finding him, and his contract's like, you know, 40 million bucks or something, right? So the team started finding him and he wasn't getting his paychecks. So he decided to come to where the team was. He did. And he was kind of taking the piss, like saying his back was sore, practicing with like his phone in his pocket and this kind of thing, right? And so they basically said, look, if you're not going to take it seriously, we're going to keep fining you because you're not taking it seriously. Now, putting aside, the status of whether it was warranted in the first place for the team to have put him in that position, putting that aside, he was kind of taking the piss, right? He's subsequently come out and said he's dealing with mental health issues and therefore he doesn't want to practice. Now, from an outsider looking in, let's be honest, that just looks like the dude is using mental health as an excuse, as a cynical excuse. But I think there's a lot more going on here. Like, the guy clearly, so he's had a lot of issues with his game. Like, he's an elite, incredible player, but he's got like one facet of his game that he can't get right, and like crowds are on him and that kind of thing. So clearly he has a block anyway. So there is something there. But it's really interesting, isn't it? Because the line between, being an elite athlete who can deal with pressure and I've got mental health issues, I can't practice, everyone feels sorry for me, it's a very blurry line, especially when you're dealing with hundreds of millions of dollars of contracts. Complicated question. It's certainly not one for me to delve into on my ride in the park, but I just kind of thought it was one worth bringing up. Do not get me wrong, that is not me downplaying the significance of mental health by any stretch of the imagination. Both Elizabeth and I are incredibly passionate about that subject. I'm not going to get too personal about it, but yeah, it became a very personal issue for us. The reason I wanted to talk specifically just about the circumstances around this Ben Simmons thing is it's the first time I have seen it play out where there's this underlying thread of cynicism in it. Like, I haven't seen that before, with the potential of it being used as almost an out. I don't like it. I don't like that at all. It makes me feel a bit irksome about the whole subject, because just generally I think the subject is very wholesome. It's a real good discussion for society. So I find this kind of a bit when it comes up. So in terms of what's happening specifically, the team have basically said, okay, well, it's mental health, your paychecks are back in the mail. It just kind of added a bit to the cynicism of it. Do you see where I'm going with this? So yeah, it's one to keep an eye out on, and if you don't want to watch ESPN, you'll just keep it dialed here. Keep it dialed here. Last thing I want to say before we go, guys, is we got some news during the week that Drops and Hoods, that gravel road event that was going to be taking place down around Jindabyne in early December, has been cancelled, which is super disappointing. Combination of things, slow entries being one of them, and a lot of that I totally understand, because it's people who, we've all been burnt, haven't we, in the last 18 months, 2 years, with events that have just been cancelled last minute. So people are very hesitant to enter events. So what I kind of would say that is, if you do want to do an event, you see it online, enter it. All these events now have cancellation policies. You'll get your money back. So if there's an event you want to do, enter it, because otherwise they won't go ahead. But that event will go back ahead in 2022. From what I know at this stage, Barrel's still taking place. From what I know at this stage, it looks like there's going to be an NRS race in December. Here's an interesting logistics stitch up for you. Okay, so it's going to take place 18th, 19th, 20th of December. Guess when the borders open for Queensland? Allegedly. Not confirmed. The 17th of December. So this could be an interesting vlog, couldn't it? It'd be like us waiting at the border to see if the border opens so we can cross to go and enter. So yeah, that could be the end of December. We could be racing an NRS race. We'll see. Alrighty kids, see you tomorrow. Peace.